Hi everybody, welcome back to Charming Data. So in this tutorial, we're going to learn three things. We're going to learn how to set up a virtual environment in Python for your project. We're going to learn how to install and import the necessary libraries for a Dash Plotly project. And third and most important, we're going to learn how to work with Dash inside JupyterLab. JupyterLab is the most recent version of Jupyter Notebook, and it's something that, according to Jupyter, everybody should start using. So we're going to learn all this today. This is actually what we're going to do. This is how the final product is going to look like. So you see we have the code on the left side, and we have our interactive graph on the right side. And we have a drop down here. We can change the color of this graph, the scatter plot, whichever we want. And we can change it live. So if I change, for example, look, tips for my service is a title. What if I change the title to just tips and do Control-Enter to run it in Jupyter? It automatically changes the title, and it's that quick. In less than 1 second, it works. And the cool thing is you can move this, and you can say, well, I want it in a different tab. So it's right in a different tab to the code. Or I want it inside the code, but I want it in the bottom part. So now your code is on top. Or you can do it on the right like we did just a second ago. So this is a really cool feature that you can do with JupyterLab, but there are some steps that we have to do in order to get this installed. Make sure to go below the video, open the description, and click on all the links to open them so you can more easily follow along. Especially this link that talks about JupyterLab and all the process steps that we need that we're going to go through in order to install JupyterLab and Dash and create our virtual environments. All right, so let's see. The first step is to open the command prompt and cd into your main directory. So let's do that. Let's go into command. I'm using Windows. Let's take this down. All right, and my directory is inside a YouTube folder. So cd, I think it's in Heroku, then it's my dash, cd YouTube. And I'm going to go into the other folder. I'm going to create all my projects in the other folder. And now create the folder where you would like to start developing your project, assuming this folder doesn't exist. So I'm going to do mkdir to create the folder, and we're going to call it project 1. That's the folder name. So now we have this project 1 folder. Let's make sure we have it. Okay, other, and we saw that we have project 1 that we just created. So what we have to do, make sure that you cd inside that folder, cd project 1, because you have to be inside the folder before you actually create an environment and install the libraries. All right, so we're inside the folder, and now we have to create the virtual environment, step 2. So to do that, just copy paste this into the command prompt, like that. This will create your environment. env is the name of the environment. If you want a different name, just call it a different name. I want my environment to be called my-environment. That will be the name. But in this case, we're just going to call it env. Enter. Give it about 5 seconds, and it's going to create a new environment. And proof of that creation is, go to project 1 again. See, we have a new folder. Go to the environment, and these are the default folders inside that environment. All right, so now that we created that environment, we have to activate it in order to install everything in it. So in Windows, to activate, you would just copy paste this like that. And you would see that this is activated because here on the left you see parentheses and the name of the environment that you just created. So now we know that this environment is activated. To deactivate at any point, just do conda deactivate. And now it's whoops, it's not conda. Just deactivate. Okay, we're going to activate it again because we do want to go in there. Perfect. So we have the environment activated, and now we can jump to step 4, where we install the necessary libraries for this Python environment. So make sure you have pip installed. That usually comes installed with Python and the environment, so it shouldn't be a problem. And we're going to install, the first library we're going to install is NumPy in case we need it. And we're going to install this version, 1.18.1. So just copy, paste. Oh, you pasted with the A dot, so make sure you do not paste it like that. So just do pip install NumPy, enter. And now it's going to install this version of NumPy 1.18, installing collector packages. And once that is done, successfully installed, perfect, we can go to the next one. And we'll just copy paste from install. And let's install pandas. Pip, and copy paste, install pandas. Always install NumPy before you install pandas because pandas is built off of the NumPy library. All right, so that should take a few seconds. After pandas is done, we will pip install plotly version 4.8.0. Let's go back. Successfully install pandas. Great. Let's do. Oops, I forgot the pip. So let's do pip install plotly 4.8.0. Now I'm choosing 4.8.0. If you want a different version, because you're seeing this video 2 years down the line, or hopefully 10 years down the line, just go to this website that's under the video. Click on this link. It's pypy.org. And just look for the library that you want to install. So if you're looking for, let's say, plotly, just click that, search it, and it's usually the first hit, and you will know because this is the most recent, 2020. Click on that, and you will see plotly 4.8.2. Copy this. It's the latest version checked on June 26. So that's just a couple of weeks ago. And if you want to install this version, all you have to do is just do like this, equal 4.8.2. Oops, sorry. 4.8.2 instead of 0.0. We installed 0.0, so we'll stay with that. You can install the latest version or one before the last, whatever you prefer. I just went with 4.8.2. Okay. This is going to install in about 2 minutes. And after we install plotly, we have to install dash. So we'll do pip install dash. This, copy paste. Give it a few seconds and it'll be done. In the meantime, while it's installing, this is a great moment to hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, turn on the notifications for this channel so you'll get a notification every week when I come up with a new video about data visualization, Python, Dash, Plotly, and all these other cool things. All right, successfully installed Plotly, so now we have to install Dash, pip, install, we'll do 1.13.3. This also should take about 30 seconds. And after Dash is installed, we install JupyterLab. This is the last section, section E of step 4. And let's just make sure that as we're installing this, what's the latest version of Dash? Dash latest version seems to be 1.13.4. That came out June 25th, but we're installing 1.13.3, so not that far away. All right, so it finished installing Dash, and now we're doing install. Did we install, was it Dash or Plotly? Yes, we installed Dash. Now we'll install JupyterLab. Oh, I always forget the pip. Don't forget the pip because it won't work. Okay, so this is going to take a minute or two, so I'm going to pause the video, and once this is done, we'll go back. Actually, one thing I forgot to tell you. Here, I did pip install JupyterLab because JupyterLab, it doesn't change versions as much, and if it does, it's not that big of a difference. So I decided just to install whatever version that the PyPy will give me. So by typing pip install, by typing this, pip install JupyterLab, it will probably just install the latest version on PyPy, on the pip system. Let's Jupyter, what is the latest version? JupyterLab. The latest version seems to be 2.1.5, so I just did this. I didn't choose a version, I just did pip install this. So hopefully we'll install this version, or maybe 2.1.4, we'll see what it installs. Okay, so I finished install. Let's see all the libraries that we installed. We can do that by doing pip list, and it's going to list all the libraries. Let's see if it gives me a JupyterLab version, Jupyter client 2.1.5. So it installed 2.1.5, which is this one. Great, so we know that now it installs the latest version if you do not specify a version. All right, so back to the list. Now that we installed all the necessary libraries, we have a few more libraries to install in order for Dash to work adequately and properly inside JupyterLab. So the next step is pip install JupyterDash. Let's go there, go here. Again, you got to make sure that you're inside the environment, the environment is activated. If not, it will just install it in space. JupyterDash. Okay, done successfully. That was very quick. And now the next step is to install Jupyter. It's not install, but to rebuild JupyterLab. If you want to read about the reason behind this, go into this URL, JupyterDash right here, the GitHub, and it'll explain why after you install JupyterDash, you have to rebuild JupyterLab if you're really interested in why you have to do it. If you're not that interested, just click on pip install JupyterLab. Actually, before I do that, look at this. It says this step needs node.js and npm. If you don't have this installed on your computer, then JupyterLab build, this next step will not work. And you can see if you have it installed by just checking the version of node. So go into your inside here, just go node space a -v as version, and it'll say I have version 12.8.2, which means I have node on my computer and I have npm. I can check npm version, and I have also SQL 14. So it's installed on my computer, so I can skip this red part. But if you don't have it installed, click on this link. Very important. You have to have this installed or this will run an error. So click on this link. It will open the website. On the website, download this, and it'll download, for Windows at least, the exe file. And then you double click on this to run the file. I'm not going to do this because I already installed it on my computer, but just install it and choose the default boxes and just hit next, next, next. Unless you know what you're doing, just choose the default boxes that are chosen or not chosen for you and just hit next, finish the installment, and then you'll have to either restart your computer or restart the command prompt. So let's actually restart the command prompt just so you see how you need to do it. Let's close. Let's say I just installed Node and NPM. They both come inside Node. So if you install one of them, if you install Node, NPM will be installed automatically. So now you have to cd inside your project directory. Mine was inside YouTube and inside the other folder, and then it was inside project. So I went into my project directory, and now remember I have to activate the environment, the virtual environment, before I keep on installing more libraries. So I'm going to do /, I think it's inside environment folder, inside the scripts, the activation button scripts, and then /activate. So this should work. Perfect. We see on the left here that the environment was activated. All right, so now that we hypothetically install Node, I already have it on my computer. Now we can do JupyterLab build. So now we go in here and we do JupyterLab build. Okay, this should take about 5 minutes. So I'm going to pause, and as soon as I'm done, I'm going to restart the video. Perfect. So we rebuilt the JupyterLab, and now we can install the extensions necessary to work with Plotly inside JupyterLab. So this is the first one, pip install JupyterLab IPY widget, copy, paste. Okay, this should take about 3 seconds. Done. And the last thing we need to install before we start JupyterLab is this. Lab extension, copy paste. Great. This takes a few minutes, so I'm going to show you some documentation. All of this that we just installed, the Plotly extensions, you can find more about it in this URL below the video as well. You see this URL right here. It starts with getting started with Python Plotly. Click on JupyterLab support right here, and you'll see just what we just did. The first thing you install is this, and the second thing you install is a JupyterLab extension 4.8.2. I didn't do the optional one. You can if you want to. I'm not sure what it gives you for now, so I just installed this. In the future, in 2 years from now, maybe you'll see version Plotly 10.9.2. Then just copy paste this and install it inside your command prompt instead of this right here. All right, so this was the Plotly extensions. For explanations on Dash and a deeper understanding of why we're doing all this, go into this link below the video, introducing JupyterDash, which is an article in Medium, and it'll explain all of it. It'll give you the open source, it'll give you the JupyterDash this URL that will explain more about the installation, and then it'll tell you all the different things that you can do with JupyterDash that we will see in a few minutes once everything is installed. Okay, so that was the documentation. Let's go back to the building, and we will restart the video as soon as this is installed. All right, folks, so we just installed the JupyterLab extension, and now we can start. Let's hope that this worked. Go in here. Actually, I'm just going to type it out, JupyterLab. And this will start on your JupyterLab on a default browser. Make sure if you restart your computer or open the command prompt to start, JupyterLab was installed inside your Python virtual environment, inside your project 1 folder. So you're going to have to cd into this folder and activate the environment before you activate JupyterLab. Okay, so we activated JupyterLab, and now let's create our first notebook with Dash and Plotly. This is very exciting. So let's do this, file, new, notebook. I'm going to create, which is Python. We're going to use Python 3. And let's rename this. Instead of untitled, we'll call it rename notebook. We'll call it app or my app dot. And then let's do Plotly first. Before we go into Dash, let's generate our first Plotly graph. We'll do a bar chart. I went into the bar charts in Python, into this URL. I'm going to take the first example right here, and it's going to generate a bar chart. So we'll copy paste it here, Control Enter, and lo and behold, we have our first bar chart where we can zoom in, zoom out, use all of these functions, and change if you want to change. This is automatic data that's inside. Gapminder is data that's inside Plotly Express, the PX, and we're just putting on the x-axis we're putting the year, on the y-axis we're putting the population, and then we're just showing the figure. So now you can do anything you want with Plotly. If you want to learn more about Plotly figures, just go up into this video, into my playlist of all the Plotly figures that, not all, but a lot of Plotly figures that you can do with Plotly. All right, so we finished Plotly, or we saw an example of Plotly. Let's see an example with Dash. So let's create another BBBBB. Let's create some more cells here. BBB. Let's do here. In this new cell, let us copy paste a Dash example. So in this URL that I showed you, in this link introducing JupyterDash, just go in here and just copy paste this code, which will generate this demo. Okay, let's go in there, JupyterDash, copy paste in here. I'm going to save it, Control Enter to run it, or Shift Enter. And this should run inline mode your JupyterDash. So now you see you have your interactive scatter plot with a total bill on the x-axis, tip on the y-axis, and you can change the color with a drop-down. So this interactive capability is what Dash is all about. If you want to learn more about all the different interactive things you can do with Dash, go into my video above to Introduction to Dash, so you'll see how this works. And then inside my channel, you also see a playlist of all the different interactive graphs that I created in my tutorials. What is cool about JupyterLab Dash is that you can move this around like I showed you at the beginning, and you can have this side by side. Not this one actually, because this is in line. Instead of in line, just do JupyterLab. And oops, JupyterLab, Control Enter, and now just take this and drag it, let's say, to the right, and now you have code on the same screen as we have the graph. So like I showed you before, you can change x-axis or tip, whatever you want to change here, hit Control Enter, and this will change in like 1 second. So it's very convenient and very easy to do. So we saw two different modes. We saw inline, we saw JupyterLab. The last mode is external. All right, the external mode, Control Enter, it will create an external link, HTTP link. Not for everybody, it's just for you on your computer. This is your port, and now you can do the same thing and the same kind of interactivity on the browser, which is the next tab to your JupyterLab. All right, so we just installed JupyterLab. We just saw how to use Dash in JupyterLab. I'm going to give you a bonus part. The bonus part is we can actually export this Jupyter file, this extension, into a Py file. And you do that because if you want to use this script inside a Python IDE, so maybe you want to use Pycharm, or maybe you want to use Spider or Notepad to run this script right here. All right, so to run it, you have to export it, or it's easier if you export it. So you go into File, you go into Export Notebook As, and go into Export Notebook as Executable Script. And this will automatically create your app.py inside, for me, it's inside my downloads directory right here. And then if you open it, I'm going to open it with Notepad, but you can open it maybe with Pycharm or whatever you have. Now you have the full script as a Python file, .py, which you can use for Python IDEs. You see? You can hashtag this out because maybe you don't want a plotly figure. And you can do all of this. 3 very important things to make note of. There are 3 differences between code that is written for JupyterDash right here, and code that is written for, let me make this bigger, and code that is written for Python IDEs. And the differences are, okay, so these are the 3 main differences. If you run this code on Pycharm or any type of Python IDE, you cannot use this. You'll have to delete this or just hashtag this out, and you have to use this. If name equals name, down here, right? Debug true or debug false, depending if you want to debug it. Then you would have to use this. You see how you have app equals, double click, copy. Right here in the Jupyter script, you have app equals JupyterDash and name. You want to hashtag this out, and this is what you have to use when you're doing it in a Python IDE outside of JupyterLab. I'm going to erase this. And then the last thing is, instead of, where is it? JupyterDash, import dash, sorry. Instead of importing JupyterDash from Jupyter, you won't use this. You will go just import dash. So those are the 3 main differences if you're going to run this code outside of JupyterLab. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned a lot. If you have any questions, please ask at the comments below the video. I'll be more than happy to help. Don't forget to watch my videos on Introduction to Dash and Introduction to Plotly, so you'll learn more about how to create these beautiful charts. Subscribe to my channel and have a good day. I'll see you in the next tutorial.